Hey everyone, it's Audrey Byrne from audreylynnstudiios. Today I have a video that I did a while ago. It was at the beginning of the year when I was up at the cottage, and I usually take my painting with me when I'm at the cottage. I don't bother bringing ceramics. And so I wanted to paint this hummingbird again. I've done it a few times now, and this is still an exercise. I'm still only using inexpensive paper here. It is 90 pound, and it is let's see here. This is just Artist Loft, which is it's not expensive at all. I have used other paper, the 140 cold press, which I really like, and you can get them in glued pads so that the sides, you don't have to tape them down. The sides are all glued down for you. And I like using that. Anyway, here I'm using this inexpensive paper. It's an exercise. I think I did this hummingbird 3 times. And I'm using the Ling watercolor set that I just got off of Amazon. It's a nice little student watercolor set that is portable. You can take it with you just wherever. And my paintbrushes I've had forever and a day. They are from my local art store. My watercolor brushes, our art store is called Opus, and I bought these so long ago. Anyway, if you are interested in this particular drawing, then I'll leave it on my website for you. So here I'm isolating all my different sections. When you're working with watercolor, if you don't want your sections to bleed into each other, then you need to do them kind of one at a time and choose the ones that are away from each other. So here I'm working on the flowers and just putting in the first color. I pewit the paper by wetting the section first, and then I'll go and pick up the color and just drop it in to the peweted section. Up there you can see that I'm just blending some colors together to get the shade that I want, and here I'll drop it in and it'll move on its own, right? Because that's the beauty of watercolor. All right, well, I'm going to stay quiet for just a bit and until it's time to pop in again. So I hope you just grab a cup of coffee, and even if you're doing something else like your book work or following along and doing your own painting, enjoy. Okay, so here I'm just going to put in one of the leaves. And you can see how I created that by pushing the belly of the brush down to make it wider and lifting it to make it thinner. Here I'm lifting up some paint from the edge of the stem to just soften it up a bit. So you can, some of the techniques you can use with watercolor is putting in, lifting out, diluting, all sorts of things that you can do in watercolor. And this is just one way to soften the edge. And then you just have a little piece of toilet paper or something to blot the wetness or stop it from going too far for you. So let's see if I can zoom in on that. Okay, I think I'll keep this zoomed in for a while. I don't think it's so beneficial that you check out the colors that I'm choosing. I would suggest that if you get this Ling set, that you make a color chart of all of the colors that are in the set, like I did. I'll get a little picture for you. So you see here that I made swatches of all of the colors in the Ling set, and I did them in how they show up in the set so that I know the color I'm working with. And that's what I suggest you do if you will pick up any kind of set, actually. Make yourself a little swatch because the colors look so dark in the set. You need to get them out on paper before you can really see the color. So I'm dropping in some yellow here, and you can see that I'm not caring that I'm going across some of those dots that I specced in the back. That's all part of the artistic liberty. Like I'm a splashier kind of watercolorist. I'm not very tight with my painting. So I like to see a lot of movement, which is probably why I like to see so much movement in my glazes with my ceramics. But anyway, so yeah, I think that the more movement, the more splash in the watercolor, the better it looks. That's my style. So here I'm just throwing in some yellow as a base for the outside of the wings, and then I'll be dropping in all sorts of colors. But what may happen here and there, I think like right there, I let that part dry. I'm moving over to the flowers again, and I'm doing that while I'm letting the yellow of the wings dry. Okay? And I came back to the flowers now because those petals that I put in first, they're all dry now. So now I can work on the alternating petals without sections bleeding into each other. Later, I will allow them to bleed, but right now I don't want them to. That's, yeah. What can I say? This is me grabbing a fine spray mist, and you can see that when I spray across those specks that I just laid down, that they start to fuzz out. And yeah, that again is something I really like. So that's what you saw me do there. I'm defining some edges here. You can see by the finished painting up on the left that there's still quite a bit to do with intensifying the shadows or the deeper colors in the painting. Back to finishing the base coat of the petals. Splishy splash. So this is me lifting out color with a dry brush. So you go and blot your brush on the side on your paper towel, and then you pick up color. You're not putting it down, you're picking it up to create the highlights. Okay, so I thought I'd zoom out now, and then you'll be able to see the colors that I'm choosing, and when I blot my brush and so on. I think that you can probably expand this on your own computer if you really need to zoom in, so hopefully this is okay with everyone. I'm smoothing out edges here. So once the paint is dry, you can still go in with a wet brush and start to smooth edges. You can re-wet the pigment on the paper. This just defines the belly without darkening it, keeping it rather white, light. So you can see how something like this is a little bit hard to accomplish on ceramics, because watercolor paper allows the pigment to move around on the surface of the paper. With ceramics, everything soaks in. You can use a barrier of gum, but the gum soaks in after a while, so you have some open time, just not a lot of open time. And definitely the underglazes do not work the same on the gum like watercolor pigment works on paper. But you're still able to achieve a watercolor look on ceramics for sure. And that is coming. It's just, there's always so much to do. It's all good, but it's just always a lot to do. Anyway, here I'm intensifying the color now to show depth. So anything light will seem closer in some cases, not if you're working on a landscaping scene, but in this case, the dark is showing the roundness of the head. I'm switching to a square brush here because I want to use the chisel of the brush, that's the edge, to do some straight lines rather than using the tip of the round. This is just showing fine feather work. And it's just the suggestion of fine feather work. Again, like I mentioned, I'm a splashier watercolorist, so if I need to show feathers, I don't get nitpicky about it. I will show the suggestion of, and the viewer's eye can figure out that I mean feathers. or I mean shimmer, or I mean, yeah. So maybe I should zoom in now again since we're getting into detail. This is actually the first time I've ever used this record feature. It's it's kind of handy, especially when you want to tell people what you're doing in the video. Like, yeah, I'm rather enjoying it. I hope you're finding it useful. You could be just saying, "Shut up, Audrey." Anyway, just turn your volume off. And if you want it to go faster, just set the playback speed to 1.5 or 2 times. Yeah, using the chisel of your flat brush makes a different kind of line than using the tip of your round. And you can see that here. And yeah, I like using it for this kind of thing. I'm going to be dropping in some darker color here to show the depth of the center of the flower. As things go deeper, they get darker. They don't get lighter, of course, right? Because the lighter they are, the closer to the light they are. Whereas these are further from the light, so they get darker. Can't figure out how to hold my brush here so you can see it. And I'm just softening out that edge. Oh dear, where did I go? Here you can see I'm lifting out again. I had to separate the two wings somehow, and I'd gone too dark, so I just basically made my brush thirsty by wiping it on my paper towel beside me and then lifting out color. Same thing there. Just had to do some defining there. And I'll probably go in and start mushing around with it again anyway, but I had to get that initial definition in. So as I mentioned, this is an exercise. This is not a finished painting. Anything that I do I intend to be finished, I'd be using my Daniel Smith colors. But that doesn't mean that you can't take this painting and sell cards from it. You can, for sure you can. Yeah, I'm putting in the beak, and that pretty much does have to be a little bit defined. And it can be kind of scary. Make sure everything is dry before you do it. So as I was saying, yeah, you can make photos of this painting and sell cards from it. That's what I plan on doing. And unless I plan on doing it again, I haven't quite decided yet. There are some things that, when I finish the painting, I think, okay, well, next time I'd like to do this or do that, or is it good enough? Maybe I should just move on to something else. So adding something like that dark color there can be really scary. But you can see that it ends up diluting, or I pick some up. So that color that I put down was a lot darker than it is right now. I can't say that I'm super crazy with how the wings are turning out. I think that I may go back and study some other photographs of the hummingbirds. As I mentioned before, I don't want a lot of definition, just enough definition, so I don't want to be drawing each feather individually or anything like that, but I think that it could probably be executed a little bit better. At this point, I was just a little bit stumped as to how I was going to do that. And like I said, it was an exercise. So I've done 3 or 4 of these, and from each one, I learned something else. but I think it's looking kind of cute. I'm happy with it. Now you can take this painting and actually mount it to a wood cradle, which is really quite fun because you don't have to frame your work then with glass and a wooden frame. So sometime in the future, I'll show you how to do that. And that, yeah, that's really nice to be able to, and then you seal it with a UV ultraviolet spray so that your colors, it minimizes the fading of your colors. So yeah, it really costs, it really cuts on the cost of finishing your work. Yeah, so now this is just all final, touching up here and there and piddling around. There goes the name. Don't forget to sign your artwork, even if you don't like it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and by all means leave your comments and your questions down below, and I'll leave some links. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I'm actually deciding whether or not to show this as a premiere so that we could sort of chitty chat in the meantime, but I will decide. Anyway, have a good day. Thanks for joining me.